to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company Window Works from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. Before we get to today's guest, Amy Lynn Allard of the Boston-based Amy Lynn Interiors, I want to let you know that the registration is officially open for the Power Talk Friday Tour High Point October 15th, 2021. Of course, if you're on the interest list, you already know that. But this is to let everyone else know. Now, I've been telling you how incredible this day is, how transformative it is for your business, and it's all true. Go over to powertalkfriday.com. Registration is limited, is absolutely limited at 15 attendees maximum, okay? You can be from the window treatment industry. You can be a photographer, an architect, a landscape architect, or an interior designer, of course. And you will learn things about yourself and your business that will blow your mind. I promise. Go to powertalkfriday.com to learn more and sign up. Now, before starting her own interior design firm in 2018, Amy cut her teeth working for high-end kitchen and bath firms. She got extensive experience in the technical aspects of cabinetry, lighting, and functional design, and this allows her to provide her clients with quality precision work. But Amy's technical expertise doesn't stop with design. She's here to share the technical systems that she's put in place that allow her to deliver excellent projects without all of the overwhelm. I'm happy to introduce you to Amy. Hi, Amy. Thanks so much for joining me on A Well-Designed Business today.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here.
First of all, I just have to remind everybody of the podcast that we did with Melissa. You're going to have to pronounce her last name for me.
Hershko.
That's it, Hershko. Like I just see all the Y's, the S's, and the Z's, and the K's, and I'm like, I can't. My brain can't scramble it. So Hershko. So you used to do a podcast with Melissa on interior design, and Melissa is from Veranda Estates, and we're going to put it in the show notes, Melissa's episode. But she's your good designer bestie friend up in Canada there, right?
And I've never met her, which is the wildest thing, but we've just become like inseparable since the podcast.
Isn't that funny? I didn't realize that you hadn't met.
No.
Whoa. So then wait, now maybe I don't remember or know the story of how you met in social to do the podcast together.
So kind of, I'll make a long story very, very short because I know there's a lot to get into, but Johnny from Vintage Builders and Nick from NS Builders had messaged me and said, you know what, Amy, you need to start a podcast. And I'm thinking there just needs to be more feminine voices in the industry. And Johnny is obsessed with Melissa and her husband and the things that they build, and he recommended that I reach out to her, see if our chemistry works. And long story shorter, or longer I guess, would be we got on the phone and we spoke for 3 hours and it flew by, and we're like, let's do it. Why not?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'm not surprised because the little bit that I've already gotten to know you, I, think it's, you're terrific and easy to talk to. And of course, I had the same experience with Melissa, and then adding to it all your shared experiences in the industry and your work and everything. I'm sure it was like just fast friends. So that's pretty fun. Pretty fun. But let me tell you what, lady, you got my attention. Okay. Because here's the email. I'd love to do an episode with you about how creating systems has changed my life, my employees, my happiness, and my time. Okay, that's just right there. You had me at hello line, right?
I know you don't have a lot of time in the day, so I was trying to make it very catchy. And the word systems is like one of those words that I think in our industry, like culture, it kind of gets thrown around without the real definition of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, we need to talk systems.
Yes, yes, it's so true. It's funny that you say that because I just recently did an article. So this would be summer 2021, if you're listening in the future, for furniture, lighting, and decor. They asked me to do a series of three short articles for them. And she asked me, Diane, the editor, asked me to write about processes and systems. And you know what I did like for the first one? I'm like, let's have a little chat about what processes are and what systems are. Like, let's establish this. To your point, we throw it around as if like, we've got it locked down and it's that easy to do, but it's not, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah. And so you have done this in your business. And for me, I mean, I'll just take the next step and just say, a process is this one thing that you do, right? And so maybe this one thing that you do is you have a discovery call with a client. And within that, process, there is, you make the appointment and you ask for certain information and blah, blah, blah. But a system would be, for example, onboarding a new client. It has the process of the discovery call. It has the process of the follow-up. It has the process of the consultation appointment. So it's like all the little processes create a system. And then you have the system for onboarding a client, or the system for a reveal install has a million moving parts, right? And that's the little processes, even just scheduling a trade. Well, what's the process of scheduling a trade, right? It's multiple things, but it's part of the system of setting up the reveal install and executing it. So that's just so we're all on the same page, right?
Completely. And I think when it comes to one thing to add would be your process, every step of your process should have a checklist for it.
Right. Oh, 100%. Because when I say if it's in your head, it's a you, it's not a business. It
It's a
can't
hobby,
be.
yeah.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know what? It might not even be a hobby. In other words, you might be intentionally doing it every day. You're not like, oh, I could care less. But it's a you. Like, it's nothing that you can turn over and say, hey, I'm going to the Bahamas for 3 weeks. Do this stuff for me, right? It has to
Right.
be out of your brain into wherever you put it, whether it's like WindowWorks old school, it's in an actual binder, you know what I'm saying? Or the podcast, we've got it in Asana. It has to be out of the entrepreneur. It has to be out of the firm owner and documented somewhere. Otherwise, it's a you. But
Yeah,
but you
absolutely.
have all this done, and this is what I love. So walk us down. So you were in business since 2018, right, Amy?
Yes, yep, you've done your research.
I have. And what I don't know is, oh, no, I do know that. I do know that you worked for other firms. You worked sort of in design build firms before you opened up your own firm. Am I, clear us up
Yeah.
with that, right?
Yeah, so I worked with a design build firm, and then which they sold a lot of like high-end imported cabinetry.
Mm.
We have a small cabinet shop that I worked with for a little bit that was family owned, and it really wasn't, well, I mean, it was a business that suited their needs. And then after I worked there, I decided there's a series of events that basically they were going to lay me off, and I decided I don't want to go back to working for another company where I kind of feel in a box and I feel like I'm not really able to deliver my clients exactly what they want because we make more money on this tile or we make more money on that. So I kind of was like delivering them a pre-planned box, if
Mm.
kind of a way to put it. And I kind of felt like my hands were tied. So I just decided, I want to go to work and make my business something that I enjoy coming to work to. But then I also want to I've always loved mentoring and teaching. And uh, really, I think what I missed when I was in college was having a boss or having a mentor that was design driven.
Mm.
I always had like business coaches, or not business coaches, but like people that knew business really well that I kind of like looked up to, but I didn't really have anyone in the design industry that I could really talk to about what was going on. I think there's been a huge shift recently where more designers are more vocal with things that they're struggling with and they're more approachable. But for a while, there was like a long period where every designer was very stuffy and they really didn't want to associate with other designers. And
Right.
now it's totally different.
Oh, completely different. Absolutely. Now it's like, look, there's enough for everybody. Let's be serious.
Oh yeah, there really is. Yeah, but that's exactly why I got into business. And I mean, It's interesting you asked that because I was kind of reflecting. I was like, what is LuAnn going to ask me? Because I know she always asks these, like in the previous episodes that I've listened to, you always are asking about their story. And I was realizing my evolution of a designer was like, I was a solopreneur in the beginning. And that was really that phase where you're like, gosh, should I do the right thing? Like, kind of cry yourself to sleep a couple nights. And then you're like, do I really, like, am I doing the right thing? And
Mm,
then this moment comes and you're like, oh my God, I should have done this way sooner.
mm,
Why did I not do this sooner? And I feel like that's when you hit the entrepreneur mindset.
mhm,
And then when you start creating the systems and the processes and really digging into the company and realizing like just because I'm a great designer myself, I need to make me a better designer would be me being able to teach other people how to do what I do.
mm.
And I think that's really when the business owner mentality comes in. And I think there's many designers out there that fall in the solopreneur, entrepreneur, and a business owner. And I think that's the three. And I mean, each of those mindsets were really what fueled me in that moment to get to the next step. But I think that's how I can explain the evolution. I've only been in business for a short amount of time, but I feel like I've grown so much because of the uncomfort that I felt in each of those areas of my business.
Mm, mm. You know, I mentioned it recently. I'm going to mention it again. I heard an interview with Gino Wickman, who is the author and the inventor of the EOS system. And he described that a business owner isn't always an entrepreneur. You know, you can own a business. And for the businesses that don't make the shift and they don't make the strategic moves to be profitable and to be intentional, whether they are run by them, you know, whether it's a solo business or a larger business, you know, it's you, the business exists and you own it. But an entrepreneur is somebody that does what you are talking about doing, reflecting, pushing through the discomfort, accepting and reflecting on that discomfort, and then thinking, what is the thing here? Taking action on that, and then building in those systems and understanding that it isn't just showing up every day and having it in your head. It's showing up every day, organizing it so that it can be duplicated. Whether it's just you know, look, in Exciting Windows, the other company that we own, you know, we have some wildly successful window treatment professionals that are solopreneurs, and run their business on their terms, make their money, do all the things, but they're well run, systemized businesses. It's not just business happening to them. I think that's what the difference is. When you
Yeah.
own a business, it's sort of it either business happens to you or you actually consciously operate the business.
Well said. I think that's something to be, it's interesting because when you're saying this, I'm remembering an episode that I was hearing and someone had mentioned that she plans for every Friday morning. She does her invoicing and then she does her client updates. And and she was saying that it was a system, and I was like, oh, okay, so let's dig deeper. Does she have a system for responding to her emails? And for me, it's like, gosh, maybe I should fine tune my email checklist because when I check my emails in the morning, I check them and then I reply back to them, whether it's I'm going to get to it this week or thank you for sending this. Let me look over this the next couple of days and I'll get back to you with an answer or a time that I can get this in my schedule for next week. So I'm not being reactive when I'm reading my emails. And I
Mm.
have like multiple different scripts that I could choose from where I don't need like there's this and this is could be in my own head, like completely in my own head. But when I read an email and a client's asking me something, I feel like I have to get respond the answer to them right away. But maybe I'm waiting on a vendor, or maybe I'm not waiting on anyone at all. I just literally don't have time in that day. So instead of me not acknowledging the email until I have the information, I'm sending an email back saying I've got your email. I'm going to plug this into my calendar for 2 p.m. to look over, and I'll get back to you with a couple other like deadlines that I've got to hit or whatever they're asking.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm at least plugging into my calendar when it fits, and I'm planning in my week for time blocks of responding to emails and then mini tasks that take anywhere from like a half hour to 45 minutes.
Mm. That's you know, commendable because Of course, I've met many of designers that do intentional time blocks, and of course, I've talked about time blocking. We do time blocking
Ugh,
at
I don't know how
WindowWorks,
you
but
do
it's
it. Don't do it.
yeah. Well, you know what it is though. See, there's a difference between day blocking. I think it's and blocking isn't really that. In other words, we have big rock days, we have task days. So certain things must be done by the end of Monday, by the end of Tuesday, by the end of Wednesday. But that's not that shrink it down to time blocking, right? And so I really admire anybody and everybody that I've met that does that. I'll call it micro time blocking. And because I resist it like the plague, I
I think
really
I do
do.
too. I think everyone does.
Oh, so it's not just me. Okay.
No, it took me 7 months to grab onto it. And like it's so hard because you've got to like you are very much, I mean, I'm assuming, but you wear multiple hats. Like
Hmm.
you've got to be the owner hat, you've got to be the manager hat, you've sometimes got to be the employee hat, or at least wear it. So as you're being a good manager, you know how to manage them. And
Hmm.
so it's so interesting because as a smaller company, I'm wearing the marketer hat, I'm wearing the sales hat, I'm wearing the designer hat, I'm wearing the CEO like big picture hat, and blocking off time for that, you couldn't give me enough hours in the week. And I was starting to get super overwhelmed with running a business with the time blocking. And it was a massage. Like I put in what I thought would work, and then I would reflect, why didn't it work? Was it because of my own brain baggage where I just was being resistant to being put into a box and I don't like that?
Hmm. Yep. Hello.
Or
Hand up.
right? And or was it that this just isn't, this particular block isn't working? And what it taught me more than anything was my invoicing. I do best invoicing with very loud music and
Oh,
2 hours, and that's it. And like I need it to be in the afternoon, anywhere between like 2 to 4 is like my sweet spot for that.
isn't
And
that
it's usually
something?
because trades are picking up from the job sites and I don't have to answer to anything.
Oh, interesting. So they're all between 2 and 4 is when the guys are loading up their trucks and leaving the job sites, and they're not, their phone isn't ringing off the hook, or emails pinging with where does the tile go, or what are we supposed to do here, or Joe didn't show up with the tile.
Or they're just calling just to call and complain to someone. Like it's just, and I think that's been my biggest shift is not picking up my phone call. And I have like auto text messages that say, "Hey, in a meeting, what's up?" They know I'm not in a meeting. They just know I'm training them to like make time with me. But it's allowed me to really take control of my schedule, and it's allowed my builders to, it's almost like forced some of the builders to do the same.
Oh, interesting. So what do they do now? They're like, they leave the message, Amy, we know you're not in a meeting.
Yeah.
Pick up.
They'll send me a message like, well, it's not really a rush because it's like that's what they're used to. They're just being able to call
Yes.
and not look at the drawings that I've left behind or not look through their emails. Like, because old Amy, I would have picked up the phone, dropped everything I was doing, and I would have gotten their information for them. But
Right.
that's just not how a business can run.
No. And especially if you know you've done the prep on the beginning and they're just
Right.
not doing their due diligence, right? That's like when your husband's like, I don't know where my socks are. And you're like, they're right in the drawer. I don't know where the drawer is. Oh, there's the drawer. I don't know how to open it. And you're just like, dude, get your
Yeah.
socks.
Yeah.
I don't see the socks. Oh, that's the thing. Oh, awesome.
Well, it's interesting too because I think a lot of the builders, and I've been kind of perfecting this process. I mean, it's an ever-going thing where each month we're basically we're typing up new checklists for different things that we're doing, and we're changing them, we're like improving them, or sometimes we're getting rid of them because we no longer want to do it, or we don't think that it's adding any value. But on one of the reflections, we were realizing these builders are not looking at our spec book. No matter, like, it's the first thing that gets thrown in the trash. The floor plans get pinned on the wall,
Mm.
and we can't find the spec book for the life of us. So we decided we're going to put the spec book in the plan. So right after every elevation, there's all of the like uh, pictures of the flush installed appliance, so they know, okay, so she doesn't want the standard one, which is the easiest one to install. So we can't play that game and just do the easiest installation and call it a day because they didn't
Mm.
circle which one they wanted. We're literally taking the picture of that spec and putting it into the elevation so they can see it. So when it's up on the wall, everything is there, and it allows for the trades to kind of understand and be respectful of the next trade that comes in because they know, all right, so underneath this kitchen sink, we've got a garbage disposal, we've got a soap dispenser, we've got Instant Hot, and everyone sees that's all on there. So the countertop fabricator knows it, the plumber knows it, and then the cabinet installer knows it too, because everything is on there. And that kind of this that's the end goal. But then to kind of break that down, when we go plumbing shopping, the way that we handle after plumbing shopping, we'll call and we'll schedule an appointment with our vendor, go through the plumbing order together. So then we have everything accurate. We're on the same page. And I don't know if this is just the way that we control the process. And once we go shopping with the plumbing products, it takes our guy usually about a week and a half to get us the quote back. And we've been able to expedite it by just pretending to book an appointment with him and then calling him on the phone and being like, we're going to go over this order over the phone and get it out of the way so you don't have to do more work and schedule it in your calendar. So we've controlled that. And then we've been able to take those model numbers, download the specs. So on the checklist, it says like, go to the manufacturer's website and download the specs from the website, not Ferguson, not Build, the main website like roll.com, get the specs from there, save just the spec that we need for the type of installation that we're doing into the client folder. And then you're also going to save it into the chief layout file as well.
Whoa. That's very thorough
Tons
process.
of steps.
Yes.
But we need a checklist for that stuff.
Right. Did all of these things happen? And
Right.
Like a practical question, because this is where my disconnect of not doing actually what you guys do. When you were talking about, like, first of all, what a sin. You take the time as a designer to create a full design build book, and the guy's like, yeah, that's, I'm going to use that as a step stool today, right? So when you take the individual, like that drawing out that shows that all of those devices are happening under that sink, blah, 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 and you put it in the what were you calling it, the blueprints, the drawing. Yeah. Is this like a tech thing that you're superimposing this actually onto the blueprint, or is it an extra page? Like, just because if somebody else is thinking like me, I don't get it,
Yeah, so okay, I'll paint the picture. So there's one page and you see the elevation of the wall. So you get, like, let's just say it's a kitchen. You see the elevation of the back of the kitchen, and then in that elevation there's double ovens, there's a range, there's a hood, there's a pot filler, there's tile. Every selection that's on that, every material that is in that selection is going to be on the next page behind it.
Okay.
And so it's all very specific. So it's not like they're so that's how we do it. And an old Amy Lynn Interiors used to have a binder, and it would have all of the specs, and you'd have to flip through the pages. And if we have more than 2 double ovens, they'd be like, well, which double oven is it? And they'd have to flip to find it. And it's just, it's kind of like you in time blocking. You're like, I just don't want to do it. They're like, I just don't want to flip through this damn book, Amy.
Right, right. You're spoon feeding
have, like, our little pits.
Yeah. So you still have your design build book, right? But you're spoon feeding the trade the page that they need right at the location and with the drawing and the elevation that they need. It's just like, here it is. You don't have to walk 3 feet over to the counter and flip to that tab in the book.
Right. Or God forbid that page is pulled out. Right. Everything is there.
Right.
That was another thing. They'd like rip the refrigerator specs out and be like, oh, let this thing rip it. I'm like, you do know that binder opens and you can take that page out.
Right.
You don't have to rip it out.
And there might be somebody else besides you that wants to know that information.
Right. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I love it. So that's very detailed and very thorough. It reminds me of my conversations both on the podcast and off the podcast with Sarah Lynn Brennan. There must be something about the middle name Lynn there that has a little extra spark of organization inherent to you guys. But same thing, like literally takes everything that they do and breaks it down to the tiniest chunks, so that there is no looking around and saying, well, how come this one guy didn't know that there was an Instant Hot here, right? It's like there were multiple ways for you to figure out this information. I fed it to you in multiple places in multiple ways. And, I'm looking at your eyeballs, buddy. You just didn't pay attention, right?
Right.
Okay, cool. Very cool. But, and I was going to say, but that comes from experience. And, you're only 3 years in business, but you come from that design build experience where you worked in those projects and you know all the places that the things break down. And all the, it's like Kat Anderson teaches our Design Build 201 with LuAnn University, and the 6 modules, Jenny is teaching in 101 how to build a design build book, but Kat is like, here's the plumbing module, here's the cabinetry module, here's the electrical module, and it's literally just what you just said. Here are all the ways that the information you want communicated to the plumber and in buying the plumbing could break down. These are all the mistakes
completely.
I've made. This is all the things I've learned from for the dozens of, projects that I've been a part of in all the different roles. And here it is in 1 hour for electrical, 1 hour for plumbing. And it's important to learn from each other these things. And for you, now you are in your firm and you are teaching and mentoring the people that work with you.
Yep.
Okay. Tell us about the size. Tell us a little bit about your firm, the size and the roles.
Right now, I have one full-time employee and I have one part-time, and she's actually only with me for the summer, and she's going back to Suffolk for interior design.
Okay. Okay. So it's not this big team yet.
Yet.
Which is, yeah, I know. I already know yet. I can hear
Well,
you.
I'm like, I don't know. I want to have a satellite office, but I don't know. For me would be more than like no more than 6 employees, but they would be powerful. Like my girl Jessica, who's full-time, she is powerful. Like she's a powerful single employee. And what I mean, I think the agenda, which hopefully we can get into today, but my agenda has just given my employees confidence to know that they can get what they need done, and their day flies by. Like I think every single day we're looking at each other like, how is it already 6 o'clock? Like it's just, yeah.
Well, let's get into it. Talk to us about this strategy of creating this agenda and working with you within your team within this framework of the agendas.
Yeah, so I just full transparency, I actually have a business coach, and he has me set up on an agenda where it's basically a duplication of that, but set for my business and what we're doing. And right now so the agenda is set up at the top. It says Jessica's agenda, and then it will have my favorite quote is, if your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader, by John Quincy Adams. And
Love that.
isn't it's fantastic. And then underneath that, it will have the D, and I use Dropbox paper because I can create it as a header, either header 1 or header 2, and each day I can minimize. But then I can also search throughout their entire agenda to see if they'd called someone before, or if we're looking for like a specific tile that we use on a previous project, and it's just easier to search that way. But anyways, that's just a quick couple benefits of it.
Tell me that you use there. What did you call it? Dropbox?
It's
No.
a Dropbox paper.
Paper. Okay. Okay.
And another benefit of it is we can both be editing it at the same time, and it's basically like a Teams platform.
Okay. Okay.
So underneath the date, it has wins of the day. I'm a very positive person, and I like to be. I mean, this industry can really, really wear you out if you let it. And so I like to know like a win of the day, whether it's a good thing, if she learned something new, if she completed something before her timeline, if she got a hold of someone that she's been like playing phone tag with. It could be anything. It could be she loved her lunch. Like red flag if her win of the day is loving her lunch, but
Yes, right. Huge red flag. That was the best thing that happened, but good for you.
but it's also helpful too when it comes to the review time, just seeing how much growth she's had. And I also think from a psychology standpoint of her seeing and writing the growth that she's had, it's kind of like comforting. It's like almost like patting yourself on the back. So wins of the day, and then underneath is what questions came up, what got in your way, really, because my biggest pet peeve is questions. Like I say that, and people are like, "Are you kidding me?" Like there is bad questions. There are tons of bad questions, and for me, it's like if you are going to ask a question and you haven't thought of 3 possible options for the answer, or taken the time to like look up the answer, you're lazy. And because I'm so solution focused in this industry, and that's one of my core values is being productive, like integrity, have integrity and just really do what's right. I know you're going to make mistakes, but I know you're a good person. So that's okay. Like we all make mistakes, and I know you didn't intentionally do it. So integrity is really big for me. But the be solution focused kind of stems to, if you have something that's getting in your way or something that you're not sure about, take a little bit of effort to look into it yourself and bring those things to me, saying, this kind of got in my way and I was thinking A, B, and C. And then we can have a really good conversation about which direction you should go in.
You are singing my tune right here now. That is the truth. It's
Ugh,
I don't
it
care
drives me
what
nuts.
business I'm in. I don't care if it's Window Works, it's here, it's Exciting Windows, whatever it is. It's like, don't ask me a question because you just want me to find the answer. It's like,
Right.
do a little legwork,
And you know what's
and
amazing? It's like so many good things come from that.
right. It's very true, and it's funny because I had a situation with one of my salespeople at WindowWorks about 2 weeks ago. Um, he reached out and he said to me, "I have an appointment that I've got to go on a transom, and not a transom, a trapezoid window, and I really don't know what products will operate on a trapezoid window." And I said to him, I said, "Well, I got to tell you, I'm a little out of the loop here." And he's like, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, last time I had personal interaction with a trapezoid window, I mean, I'm out of selling at WindowWorks full time about 2.5 years now. And beyond that, it could have been another couple of years since I saw a trapezoid. And I don't know what the technology has done since then." And he was like, "Oh," and I said, "You need to get on the phone with Hunter Douglas." And I could hear in his voice, he's an outstanding person, outstanding salesperson, but right now he is literally overrun with 5 and 6 appointments a day. And I could hear it in his voice, like just that's going to take forever. And I just said to him, I said, this is give a man a fish or teach him the fish. I said, if I take my time to re educate myself on what's going on in the world of operation and trapezoid windows, I will now own this information. But you will not. You will get it secondhand from me. You will be in front of the client. Another question will come up, and you will not have the information at your disposal. I'm sorry. It's painful. I know you're stressed and you are pushed beyond your limits, but you got to do this one yourself. You have to
Hmm.
do the long walk through this, right? Because then you now you own it and learn that information.
It's so true. Like
Yeah.
there's so much to be said about that, and I think I have to give credit to I worked for this company that did restoration, ARS, and the owner hated questions. And he's like, "You will never step foot into my office unless you have three possible answers, and then we can talk about it." And I was like, "Ooh, I like that."
Mm,
Because
mm.
usually I figure out the answer as I'm doing the research. And then if it comes up again, I remember because I invested so much time trying
Right.
to figure it out.
Well, that's what it is because you find out a lot of information on the way to the answer you need for that in that specific situation. And but you get lots of background and lots of filler. Like I said, you're gonna be in front of the client and something else is gonna come up and you're gonna be like, "Huh, Lou didn't tell me about that."
Hmm.
Right? You don't own it yourself. And to me, this also is the way we handle all of us, you, me, all of everybody listening, the way we handle problems and questions with our clients. We don't ever go to our client and say, "Yeah, something went wrong in the kitchen. Not sure what to do about it. I'll get back to you." It's like, no. We go and we say, "We've got a problem, the countertop this, but here's the three solutions that I think we can consider in order to really resolve this, so let me walk
Right.
through them," right? So it's just training your employees to have that same come to me with some solutions. You don't have to know the answer, and you don't have to worry about giving the responsibility for making the call on something that is big, but you gotta do some legwork, right?
Completely. And I think that's also something that I like. I carry that to the job site as well. But even like today, I was ran into an issue with the contractor was like, the roughs aren't here. And I was like, okay. And he's like, I mean, does anyone here know anything about plumbing? And I'm like, okay, pump your brakes. Like, let's be solution focused here and let's figure out like let's call Splash. So that would be the first thing that I'd probably say we could do. I could look through my emails and see if there's any sort of a delivery date, and then we could call your warehouse and see if they have it in the warehouse. So there's three great options. And it's just like when your brain isn't trained to think that way, you're always in reactive mode and you just feel that like you're you're going to be miserable. That's
Mm.
really what it comes down to.
Yeah. Well, you always feel like the ground is moving under your feet, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. So we're looking at
So
your
back to that.
agenda.
Yes.
So let me
So
just recap it for a second.
yeah.
So your agenda every day, it starts with a quote, then it has the date on it, and then it has a space for wins of the day, and your employee is filling this in, and then it has a place for questions that came up and things that got in my way. So are you doing this agenda for you daily, and they do it for each of themselves daily, or is this a team agenda? Like, how does this work, Amy?
Yeah, so right now, we are in the transition of I've been filling it out for them each day, and now we're in the transition of when they are reaching out. The only thing that they fill out daily is their emails that they have to reply to or they're waiting for a response for. They'll just carry that name into their next day, and they'll put like um, in the agenda portion of it, it says return emails, and it's always has A, B, and C kind of blank, and you fill it in. So as you're sending an email, that's our way of tracking that. So we've sent an email out for plumbing. We just need to follow up to get the invoice, and I want to do that in 3 days. So I'm not going to do that tomorrow. So I'll add it on the days 3 days later from now.
Oh, so let me understand something. So you're having a meeting with a particular employee, and you've got this document open in front of you, and you're
Mhm.
filling in the answers that they're giving you.
Filling in the no. Okay, so okay. No, so then on after what came up and what got in your way, this is basically set up so they don't have to ask me questions throughout the day
Okay.
as they're chipping away at their agenda. So every morning at 9 a.m. between 9 and 9:30, we have a team huddle, and the team huddle is we go over their agenda from the previous day and go over what got in their way and go over I'll have like checked a lot of their work and go over some of the changes that need to be done, and then we go over their agenda for the day today, and I try to put out like any sort of questions or try to explain to them some of the things before they get started, and then once they get started, they know it's game time. And if they have questions, they put it into the what came up. Because if I'm on a phone call or if I'm in and out of meetings or if I have deadlines, they know that I'll look at that periodically throughout the day. And then around 11:30, I look at their calendar to see if their day is filled up with the stuff that I've given them, or maybe I put too much stuff on their calendar and they'll put, I don't have enough time today to get all this stuff done. So they basically take what's in their agenda and they put it into their calendar based on how long they think it's going to take them.
Okay. Okay.
And then that helps me. So around 11:30, if I'm like, okay, Veronica has too much stuff on her plate, I'm going to add this to Jessica's today because she has 3 hours that are open. And I'm going to pull her aside, let her know that I'm adding it to the schedule, and then she'll add it to her calendar.
Okay, so I think maybe we need to finish the agenda items, and then it's going to start to
Okay.
all appear. So after questions that came up and what got in your way, what's next?
The next thing is notes on the day. So this is just kind of if I'm going to be in and out of the office, I just let them know like these are the times that I'm available. These are uh, some things that to have on your radar, or these are some phone numbers that I think you should add to your phone because you'll be calling them in the next couple of days or something. And
Okay.
then they'll put notes on the day where if they kind of want to sometimes they're just wanting to talk about some of the things that they've done and kind of explain why they did things that they did. It could be a color choice or color palette. So on the notes, they'll put like client name and then they'll make a little paragraph. Hey, I want you to look at the tile that I put in there. I'm not sure if you're going to like it. So I put a couple different options in there for you to look at. Um, Another one is the height of the toilet mount. There's a note on there that they wanted it higher than normal. Could you specify what height? So if there's like something that they want me just to kind of like look into
Mm.
or review with them, they'll put that as a note there.
Okay. Okay.
And then below that is the agenda.
Okay.
So the agenda would look something like client name, measure powder room, the sconces are on the side at 15-inch on center, reference the drawing in the initial sketch folder. Client name, print plans, another client name, add all the items from the PowerPoint for selections to the selection sheets. Another client name, reach out to the appliance store. We need to build a new relationship with them. Send the plans over, make a list of the appliances that we need to get priced out. We're going to do it in Bosch and Thermador. Email a contractor asking him if this is the slab door style that he wants to do. So there's like a bunch of things that sure I could do them all myself, and it probably takes me just as much time to write the initial email, but I want them to be the ones following up and seeing it through. So I put in everything here, and then they basically read through it. And there's something to be said about because I don't know, I know their skill set, but I don't know how long it's going to take them to do each thing. And maybe it's just me because I'm rebellious, but if someone tells me, like, oh, that should only take you an hour. And it's kind of like when a designer says to a contractor, like, oh, that's easy. You just like move that light switch up 10 inches. Easy peasy. Like,
Right.
it like gets under your skin. And so when someone tells me I need to do something in a certain time frame, I almost want to take double the time. Maybe this is why I'm a business owner and I'm an employee. But so I want them to take initiative and to really truly build their schedule, because there's something to be said about when you can do something in the time that you're saying that you're going to get it done in, it's like super rewarding. So that's why I've set it up that way.
So what happens is now the actual agenda is all the things that have to be done to move a project along, whatever that means. And you have X amount of clients, they all get there. And then is the next step that you're saying that they, because of this time management thing, that they then go put it into their calendar the way you mentioned earlier at 2 o'clock, I'm going to answer this email. So they're like,
Yeah.
okay, so from 1 to 2, I'm going to call this vendor and I'm going to deal with questions for these 3 clients, because we identified that we've got, 3 different clients that we have to talk about with the plumbing guy or something, right? And they're organizing their day and they put it in. They leave that meeting and they put it in their calendar. And then at 11:30, you're checking in, and one of them has got their day stacked till. So do you instruct them? Look, put it in the day, whether you think you're going to get it and not get it done or not, whether it feels like a lot or not, because that's how you then can say, okay, at 11:30, let's flip things around.
Yeah, and so during the agenda, I'll go over like what's a priority. Like these are some things that are a major priority, so get them on for today for sure. And if there's anything that you're not able to get on, put that up into what got in your way. And you would say time got in my way. I don't have time to do these. So then at 11:30, it's not even a conversation. It's I hop into their G Drive calendar or Google Calendar. I see the blocks that they have already filled out, and then I go to their agenda and I'm seeing, okay, great, they have everything on their calendar for the day. There's nothing that needs to be moved. She's got a full day. And then there could be a time where she digs into a file and like half of it's corrupted, or she gets into something and she just can't it's more complicated than she thought it was going to be. And that's fine. Like when you get into something and you're like, oh, this is what took a lot longer than I thought because of X, Y, and Z, then that's something that they just note on the top of the day. And then if I won't find out till the end of the day or whenever that happens, maybe if I'm not here, I won't find out until at night when I go to look at their agendas that we had to move something to the next day.
Okay. And then the creation of the daily agenda. I mean, at once
Like
you're
how
up,
does that happen?
what's that?
Like how does that happen?
Yeah, and I was going to say, once you're up and rolling and you've been doing a system like this for even 3 or 4 days, like to your point, a lot of it organically moves along. So you pick the plumbing, now it's send the invoice for the plumbing, and then it's like, order the plumbing, right? So that kind of moves itself along. But in the first day, for a colleague listening, are you the one, Amy, that is sitting down like, the night before and going through your client list, or do you do that as a team as well?
So every Monday morning, we come in and I have a 3 foot by 5 foot whiteboard that's actually behind me on the wall, but it will be in front of me eventually so we can stare at it every day because it's just beautiful. And we go through that every Monday morning and we erase everything that got done, because basically we go through every single client. We have like a little block within the whiteboard, and we write down things that need to get done for this week, and we're coordinating that with my project tracker. So we open up my project tracker and I'm like, okay, we're on week 7 for um, Kofer client or whatever. And so what does week 7 say we have? All right, I had this. Do we have anything from week 4, 5, or 6 that's kind of like carrying over, or are we pretty current? And so then we kind of brainstorm, well, we did this, and so we need to do X, Y, and Z. Let's throw it up on the board that we need to pick paint colors, and we're on track, and all the things that we have scheduled for this week. And then that basically that team meeting going through every single client. It also generates our biweekly emails, updates, but then it also generates our master to-do list for the week. And then we take that master to-do list for the week and I go through and I color coordinate. I have like 3 different marker colors, one for each employee. And I put a dot next to each of the tasks on the whiteboard that that person in the company can handle. And then as I'm writing that, one of the employees is typing it up and she emails that or makes it as like a Dropbox paper. And then I go and I build the schedule for the week based on that.
Wow. 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 And so what we're witnessing here is a lot of stopping the train and doing some great intentional planning, analysis and accountability tracking so that once the train gets going again, the week is just running.
Yeah, it's incredible. It really, like, Monday is such an empowering day, and then come Friday, we're like, oh my gosh, we did it.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And you learned this from the business coach that you're working with.
A mix of that, and then there's another designer in North Carolina, Kirsten Hart White Interiors. She has the same business coach as I do, and we have biweekly meetings just to kind of brain dump everything that we're learning, but then also because it's pure business that we're learning from him, we're kind of bringing in our process in that.
Mm.
And that's when I was like, how, I asked her like a simple question, like, how the heck do you know that you have too many clients right now? And she's like, I just know because I'm exhausted each week. I'm like, when haven't you been exhausted, you know? And I'm like, there's got to be a way. And so we went to the coach and we're like, how do you track projects? And he's like, what do you like? We track everything else in your business. Are you really asking me that question? And I'm like, really? Like,
Kind
how do I
of.
do it? And so I basically decided that I'm building out a schedule for my clients. So when I sign on for a client, when a client signs on with me for, let's just say, a kitchen, we'll keep it simple. I'll go through and I'll write week 1, we're doing the initial measure. Week 2, we're doing the concept meeting. Week 3, we're coming out, we're creating the designs. Week 4, we're doing the same thing. Week 5, so on and so on and so on. And then after I do the design, because I have the design process right now, and depending on the scale or the complexity of the project, and the personality of the client, how quickly they make decisions, then I go through and I drop hours, like a range of hours per week for that phase. And then I'm able to calculate how many hours a week I can designate on that project. And then if I do that for every single project in the project tracker, I can calculate how many hours a week I have for design time.
Mm. Mm.
Was that hard to follow?
No, and I'll tell you what, it might have been, except that Sarah Lynn Brennan does almost the exact same thing. So if it was like, and as a matter of fact, if it to be true, if it was the first time I heard it, I'd be like, wait a minute. But I get it, and Sandra Funk does something very similar, if not exact the same thing too. And what it is, and I'll repeat it, and you'll make sure I'm understanding it is every project, when you have it highly organized and you know every phase and you plug it in. So one particular phase might take 2 weeks to do, or 3 days to do, or 4 weeks to do, or 1 week to do. You put it in, and then you also are based on your past data and your experience, you're saying this phase is 1 week, and within a week it's 15 hours. And then when you overlap all of your clients, you can say, okay, this client is in week 5 and this client's in week 2, and the week 5 client requires 30 hours and the week 2 client requires 30 hours. Oh, Houston, we have a problem because I don't have 60 available hours. So right away where your heavy weeks are and how you might have to make adjustments, and you can also look and see where your slow weeks are. And additionally, you can look ahead as a project winds up and you're having an introductory discovery call. You can look at your board or your tracker, whichever you're using, and say, I could start your project in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 8 weeks because you've got it all overlapped there, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of being able, and it gives you more control over, let's say the client has a vacation coming up and you want to mark that on there and be like, maybe that can be a week when I am doing some design work or we're doing some internal things or we're not meeting, or I have a vacation that I'm planning. So I know it's a 15-week project, but it's actually going to end up being 17 because 2 of those weeks I'm not going to be here.
Right.
And it allows not only for me to understand, okay, I'm exhausted at the end of each week because I'm not organized, not because I don't have enough work to be doing, or if I don't have a lot of design clients or design time that one week, maybe that's something where I can capitalize on a new marketing plan that I want to do,
Right.
or I could redo something in our studio. We can focus on our studio. So I feel like just knowing the trade-offs of the hours that we have per week booked it's been life changing.
Well, and you know what it is? It seems to me, it's like if I visualize, if I'm a factory manager and I've got, 6 assembly lines or 12 assembly lines, that's like having 6 clients or 12 clients. And there's the line, and I need X amount of, stations at every, for every assembly line. But I have this, chess game of people and who needs a break and who needs lunch and who needs that. And then I just move and I evaluate everything so that all the lines are moving. And if a line isn't moving, maybe I know why it's not moving because this guy's on lunch and that, whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you're really just making it an actual like I call like a chess game. It's like where are all the moves and where's everybody going, and so that you can make informed decisions is what's happening.
Yeah, and to kind of paint the picture for someone that's like trying to figure out what the heck a spreadsheet like this would look like. And I know I'm saying spreadsheets, and probably like half the listeners are like, "Pfft, I'm done listening to this podcast. I don't think any designer likes spreadsheets." But when you make them look pretty, they're actually really nice to work with. So I have mine as like, because my branding is very clean, so I have like a light gray with black font, and I do light gray every other line just so I can easily follow each row. And so across the top is the week. In one column, it will say like 7/7 or 7/5 to 7/10. So I do Monday through Friday. The next column over, the A, B, C, D, the top row, from left to right would have the dates of the week. And then on the left side column where it's like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, has the client name. And then on the actual columns next to client name, it'll have the hours in each cell. And then as I add a note to that cell, it'll say what week it is.
Wow. It's great.
So then it adds up all the hours at the bottom of it.
Wow. It's really, really good. I love it. So exciting. I know people are thinking, I need to see that.
I mean, I'm happy to give it to you, and you can email it to every listener that emails you that wants to see it. 'Cause I'll be honest with you, I like I think, I mean, this is when I first started in business, I listened to your podcast every single week. Like, and this was my outlet. And there were so many things that I heard that I wanted to implement, and I'd try to implement some of them, and then I wouldn't try to implement them all. There's probably going to be 2 people who implement it that actually like get it and do it. Like out of maybe I don't know how many people would email you for, but I think that's something that when you don't have someone like telling you get this done, like you're only hurting your business by not doing it. It's really hard to just be like, okay, we're going to do this. This is life changing.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, we make it very easy. We have LuAnnNigara.com/goodies. And anybody, if you've already signed up for LuAnnNigara.com/goodies, then this document will be in your goodies portal. And if you have not signed up yet, you sign up and it will be there. And so, in other words, this way it prevents you having to sign up every single time we have a free resource like this that we want to give away. We just keep loading them in there. So thank you for saying that you'll share that, Amy, because I agree with you. The greatest percentage of designers that do go and get it will not put it into action, but maybe in a week or a month or a
Right.
year, right? Like there's a point where you just are more upset about this the chasing your tail than you
Not the
are
truth.
about stopping the train to learn a new thing. It's just it's human nature. You've got to get there. You've got to get to that point where you're just fed up, and then you will take the action, and it's nice that the resource will be there for them when they do.
Yeah,
So
and I would recommend doing it in a G Suite or a G sheet. I always like struggle with saying that, but
mm,
I would recommend that because there is a nice way to basically right click or turn the, let's see, like, yeah, right click and add a note to it.
okay, good, 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 good. Yeah, those little things that you need to know, like which tech works with it and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Okay. And then the other thing that I know I'm going to get emails about is people are going to say, who's the name of her coach?
Oh my gosh. I don't want to tell everyone because then it's not gonna have time for me. No, I'm kidding. He is so okay. Let me prep people because I want them to understand his personality because he's not for everyone. He's literally not for everyone. And I'm not purposely saying that, but I I was on a hunt for a coach 2 years ago when I basically was like, people know something I don't. And I'm like, it bothered me. I'm like, how do they know business? And I'm like, I'm so good with design. I can do it in my sleep, but business, I'm like, oh, it like made me like, I don't know. I was struggling with the idea of being a business owner, but I just want to do what I loved and I just want to do it however I wanted, basically.
Yes.
So I interviewed a couple business coaches. One was purely design business coach, another one was a design business coach, and then another one was like a contractor coach.
Mm,
And then the coach that I hired is just a strict business coach.
mm.
And they don't give a crap about how you feel,
No,
like
right.
at all. And there's no, let's make it pretty. Like, sure, if you want to take time to make it look pretty, Amy, do it on your own time. But like,
Right.
it's like a power hour when I talk to him, and it's like, okay, I don't really care what got in your way. You should be the one caring. Like,
Right.
why didn't you get this done?
Right.
And it's just, there's something to be said about, for me, and like knowing the type of person you are. And if someone was kind of like coming at you as like a drill sergeant, that may piss you off. Oops, I don't even know if I can say that, but
It's
that like it may actually like not be good for your business to have a coach that is so, this is a proven process, Amy, like you need to be doing it this way. And I believe me, like I have my own brain baggage where it's like, you know what, I don't really want to be doing marketing or like these predetermined things that I have in my head that I think are the right things to do. But I really just trust his process.
mm,
And I would say the way that they coach is for any business in the world. And that's kind of comforting to me to know that I could take the things that I'm learning from him. And if I wanted to create another business
mm-hmm.
that isn't design related, I still have all the tools and the systems and the mindset that I could duplicate into many different companies.
Mm.
So
And
his name is Clay Stairs, and my personal coach is Sean. He has a couple coaches with him, and Clay Stairs is ClayStaires,
okay.
and they're out of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay. All right. You know what happens is when we have someone like yourself mention a couple of times the impact a coach has, I do get the email saying what was the name of the coach. So,
Yeah.
and I have to say, it seems to go around the Facebook groups every once in a while. Someone will say, you can't possibly coach interior designers if you're not an interior designer, like blah, blah, blah. And
False.
I'm
Very
like,
false.
okay, seriously, sweetie, business is business, right? And of course, what I love what you have done, Amy, is that you have gone out and gotten yourself this straight up hardcore drill sergeant business coach, which I think, to your point, is not everybody's cup of tea. Okay.
No.
Absolutely. Right. But the thing is, then you have utilized the podcast over the last 3.5 years as well, of rounding out, because there are a lot of things that are very specific to design and to the process that somebody like that is like not really going to have the in-depth knowledge or the
Knowing the
perspective.
failures,
Right.
like hearing the failures that people talk about or things that didn't work on the podcast is like that's really what helps me kind of, you know what, I heard that didn't work for another designer. let's talk about that. And
Exactly.
he's like, sure, let's talk about it, but you're doing it.
No,
So,
you know what? I think you always need to have different voices in your head. You can't just get
mhm.
fed the same stuff all the time. And quite honestly, I love the coaches in our industry that have been designers. I think Veronica Solomon, Sandra Fong, Claire Jeffer, Cheryl Clendon, oh my goodness, I mean, I'm going to forget half of the outstanding designers. Terry Taylor. You're going to forget the many that are in the industry that come from the industry. There's no question. However, um, they're also typically going to more or less teach you their way that they did it, which is terrific. It's proven and it's successful.
Totally.
But there is something to be said with mixing both the outside industry voice with the inside industry voice. It's very interesting. And I think it's great. Good for you. Good for you
Yeah,
for
and
seeking out the help.
there's something to be said too about core values. And I think that's something like in the beginning when I was on my own, I really discovered my ideal client. And that was it was like crystal clear. And then my core values I struggled with. I was like, I don't really want to just throw things in there that every other company has. Like, I truly want core values that mean something to me. And my business coach was like, Amy, if you can't hire and fire off of your core values, they're not strong enough.
Mm,
And so I would say when you're hiring a business coach, you should be hiring based off of your core values and firing based off of your core values because it should literally put a burning fire inside of you when someone doesn't do something that is on your core values.
right. Well, and you know what? I have had that exact experience. I've had the exact experience of having an employee, and look, it's 40 years, so no listening employee is going to pick themselves out of this. But having an employee that is doing, let's say, doing B plus work, right? We love when the employees do A plus work, but doing B plus work, let's say 95% of the time. Well, that's a tough thing to look at an employee and say, you're next out of the lane because I want the A plus person. So, there's certain situations where you will do that. But I had this employee that for a very long time was hovering between B plus and A minus work. Let's say that. So every once in a while doing A plus work, but mostly the average time was spending between B plus and B minus. You know what I'm saying. And then one day, I found that not a direct lie, but the lie of omission, the lie of, I'm not going to tell the full story. I'm going to get away with it, was the expectation, and we're going to move on. And that was it. That day, it was done. I'm like, this is a non negotiable for me. We all
Oh
speak
no.
truth here. We
Yeah.
take responsibility. We take account. You can wake up in my world and make a flat out mistake 5 days a week. If you're doing your best, or even if you're doing your B plus best, you can make a mistake 5 days a week, honestly. But you lie or mislead me, we have a whole other problem, right?
Yeah.
And so when you say that, like, listen to me, I immediately get passionate about it because your statement is so true. Hire and fire within your core values, and for each person, there's going to be a set of non-negotiables that are your core values, and they may be different to each one of us. Somebody else couldn't live with less than A plus work 5 days a week. My cousin Eileen
Right.
is like that. Eileen is like, I do A plus, everybody around me does A plus, or I'm not doing it. Like, it's not happening. And I'm always
Yeah.
like, well, blah blah blah. She's like, you're too easy on people.
Well, it's interesting because my intern, she's an intern, and so there's like I only have her for a period of time, but I actually was getting ready to fire her. And
Mm.
it was her 1 month review and she called out sick when she had strep or something. And I I was just like, oh my gosh, this is my first like fire. And she's an intern. And I felt so bad because I'm like, I see the potential in her. There's just something, she's not motivated. She's not doing as I'm asking. She's not following the system. She's not following the checklist. She's not using the agenda the way she needs to. And she was showing up late. She was only on time 2 times out of the month that we had
Whoa.
her. Yeah. And I called her and I was like, I just want to have a candid conversation with you. And I went through. I was like, I just want to recap like we're having our 1 month review and I want to go over my core values and being task oriented, like the agenda is your Bible, fill it out and complete it, positive mindset, like it's infectious and I own my own business because I don't want to come to work miserable every day. I want to be happy and I want everyone to be there as well and I want you to be here on time and be ready to start and integrity, like, being able to communicate how you feel, even if it's going to upset someone, but doing it with like respect or just
Mm,
being intentional and really just doing the right thing always, being solution focused, like figuring out, like coming to the table with solutions, but rather than problems, and then production, like getting things done. And I just want to hear a reflection of when you hear these, do you feel that you're contributing to that?
mm,
And she broke down and she's like, this is my first real job. I've worked for like my family before and I've kind of always had very relaxed schedules. I want to be held accountable. I want to be better. She's like, I was hoping that you didn't notice this about me. But she's like, I come in every day. I'm like, how does this girl still have energy? Like 9 a.m. in the morning. Like, how are you so ready to go? And I'm like, this is my life. And I'm
yeah.
not expecting this to be your life, but I need you when you're here to be here. And I need you to be on time because I have the meeting at 9 a.m. and when you're 5 minutes late or 15 minutes late, I can't start it. And then that throws my entire day off. Like it's kind of disrespectful at that point.
Mm,
And she came in the next day and I was like, I was ready to like let you go today. But I was like, I just want to let you know there is no like hall pass next time. Like you'll just be gone on the spot. And she came in and she wrote a bunch of goals for each of the in my core values and said for all of these core values, these are my goals that I want to do to prove that I want to be working with you.
mm.
And now she's an A+ player.
Oh, see, but that's such great leadership on your part. You know, Amy, truly, that's great leadership on your part to, really reflect on the ways that she is impacting your firm, reflect on the ways that she was and wasn't living within the ideals of your firm, to have that hard conversation, right? To really just face the conversation, to have it, and to have it with that kind of respect and care for her ego, right? And then
Totally.
to allow her the chance to redeem herself, but to tell her, you're on notice. Like it's next time. I
Hmm.
love that line. No hall pass next time. So
Yeah.
this isn't, I'm not your mama and I'm not going to do this 16 times. I did it the one, but after that we grow up and we handle it. And, it's, you'll probably be the boss that she remembers her entire life. You'll probably be the person that she
Gosh.
one time says, I know it, that says,
Yeah.
I really learned about how to be a meaningful member of a team from my first boss, Amy. You know what I mean? And, who knows? Maybe she'll be somebody that's important to you for many years, but either way, I'm sure you're going to be important to her for many years. So good on you.
Yeah, and I honestly, and I think back as I'm mentioning this to you, and core values, like had I not had those written out and on every job ad that I put out, on every job description and employment letter, like, and if I didn't have them so embedded into what I do every day, I don't think I would have been able to have as constructive of a conversation.
Mm,
Because that really is the Bible of that call was let's talk about my core values. Are you hitting them?
right.
And then I didn't have to talk at all. She knew.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So good. So good. And you're lucky. I have to say, you're lucky that you didn't get one of these, yeah, buts, because then, like, my brain wants to explode.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, nope. No, no.
Oh, yeah, but I just this and I just thought that. And I'm just like, oh, man, I'm too old to hear this one
I
more
would just say
time.
no. Like, it's just not going to work out. Like, it just, when it's your baby and it's your job, like, and it's your career and everything. And
Yeah.
because, like, even like, I have like a rock star of an employee, Jessica, and if she sees me letting
Mm-hmm.
her get away with showing up late every day, It's
It
just
affects her.
within time, it's
That's
going
right.
to.
Absolutely. It
Yeah,
affects the entire team when we, overlook somebody who is consistently not meeting their personal goals for within their job, and then not meeting the team and the company's, goals for culture and core values, and for all of the things. There's no
absolutely.
question. Yeah. It's like a little cancer that starts, going
Couldn't
through.
agree more.
Yeah, absolutely. So good. So good. I mean, honestly, I could talk to you for another hour. I'm
I know.
100% certain.
It's flown by.
Yeah, so good, Amy. Thank you so much. You definitely send me that document, and we will put it in luannigara.com/goodies, and you can see it, and you can color code it to your own company colors. You can do all the things that you
You
designers
have
do to
to.
make things pretty, right? But thank you, Amy. I really do appreciate it.
No, likewise. I'm just glad. Like I said, I wanted to scream this from like the rooftop and like I found something out. Like take it and run with it, please. Let's all be successful.
That's it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you. Have a great day.
Likewise.
Crazy, right? Amy had my head spinning from all of the meticulous checks and balances. And I wonder, are you intrigued and you can't wait to get started? Well, then I suggest you go to luannigara.com/goodies. Or does it make you want to run screaming from this style of stop everything until you have every hour planned and accounted for kind of structure, right? Well, if the latter is you heard it. Amy resisted it, and I don't blame her. Systems are intense. The thing is, though, Amy knows why she's doing it. She has these 3 reasons. Number 1, she wants to make sure she delivers an excellent project to her clients. Number 2, she wants to prevent herself and her team from getting overwhelmed. And number 3, she wants to teach her team so that she can hit her goal of growing her firm. Okay. So when you think of it this way, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? She's growing a reputation among both clients and trades for excellent work. She's preserving her mental and physical health, and she's laying the groundwork for a nice size firm that hungs along while she might be off taking 2 weeks in the Bahamas, right? Because we all know we can be on the beach with the pina colada, but we don't really enjoy it as much if we don't get to sit there and think everything is locked down back at the business, right? You don't get the 2 thumbs up at the doctor if you're in a constant state of overwhelm and stress. And you don't get to build a great reputation if things are always falling through the cracks. It doesn't just happen. So if you've got big goals, the work starts now. The foundation has to be built. The systems must be put in place, and you must document them. Now, if you need some systems put in place for your invoicing, package creation, time tracking, and a handy dandy auto trigger that reminds you when a welcome package has been paid, then go check out My Doma Studio. All right. You'll get 20% off your first 3 months by going to mydomastudio.com/a well-designed business. Now, what's the missing link between systems and success? What else do we need besides systems? Well, we have to make sure everyone is on the same page. This is a big one because we can create lists and calendars and auto triggers all day long, but without a common understanding among us and the people that work for us, the ones who are going around getting the things done, it's not going to work, right? And I just love how Amy handled the intern who wasn't exactly on the same page as her. Realistically, this intern probably deserved to be fired, right? You probably had the same thought. And Amy could have done that, especially since it was an intern. Instead, she chose to treat the intern like a full-time permanent employee. She decided to have a hard conversation with her and give the intern space to reflect, to rally, to take her job seriously, and to mature professionally, right? It's really a kindness that Amy did for her because it's no fun to deal with underperforming staff, but she did a really great job and she left the choice up to the intern, right? Can you imagine the impact that she's had on that young person's life? I mean, way to go, Amy. High five on that, right? Now, the other thing that struck me about Amy's technique was what she calls reflections. She makes a point to periodically reflect upon her systems, to kick out the ones that aren't helpful and iterate and improve on the ones that she's liking, right? She just has this sort of practical a practical humility about her, right? It sort of says, I'm fairly new in business and I've got a great coach, but I don't have it all figured out. And I'm definitely open to improvement. And I am sure Amy blocks time out for those reflections, right? You can imagine it, right? She makes sure it happens because we all know those are the first things that get pushed off when we're busy. So what do you think? Will you start Monday morning at the whiteboard reviewing projects with your staff? Or maybe you'll create a different system that works for you and your particular firm. Whatever system you choose, the point here is to start. Okay? Because you can only make improvements if you actually start one foot in front of the other. Okay? My advice is to block some time to focus on improving or establishing your systems. And if you get stuck, ask for help, right? Ask for help. You can do it. There are so many resources available to you. There are coaches and consultants available. You have the Lu University classes devoted to different aspects of the system. You have an amazing exchange of ideas and advice in the LuAnn, Niagara and Friends Facebook group and the other Facebook groups of our colleagues out there, okay? I'm going to tell you right now, if you listen to the show long enough, you know I wasn't born a systems girl. And you know that maybe you would say, well, you're smart enough to know that that's a big thing in order to be successful, okay? In order to create what you've created, right? Well, I have to tell you, that's not really it. It was repeating mistakes that I finally understood I didn't have to repeat if I had adopted a specific repeatable system, okay? The Vin Man pushed me along, kicking and screaming, right? That's how I went, but it finally sunk in. I finally got it. And I know it's the game changer in growing a profitable business. So I'm doing for you what he did for me. I am putting it in your face every single week, okay? You must face this, and if you want to be successful, and if you want to either grow or scale, or just be on the beach in the Bahamas with a pina colada. If you have the systems in place, your mind can be at ease, all right? Now, we're all always a work in progress, for sure, right? I, for one, am grateful for the hard lessons because now I do the hard work of creating systems because I've learned it's worth it. I hope that you'll take the advice from Amy, myself, and others so that you can sidestep the mistakes that we've made. That's really what this is all about. I'm telling you from experience. You could do it one way or the other, with systems or without. And I'm just here to tell you, it's a lot harder without, all right? So, my great thanks to Amy for joining us, and also a shout out to IDS and Revelwoods and My Doma Studio for sponsoring this show, as well as the upcoming Power Talk Friday tour in High Point, October 15th. Please see the show notes for information on all of our sponsors. All right. Thank you for showing up today. Oh, wait, and a shout out to Jane Morgan. Thanks, Jane, for the iTunes review. I very much appreciate it. And I want to say I'm coming to Chicago this fall with Monogram. So keep an eye out, and I hope that you and I are going to get some time to talk and chat when I'm in Chicago, Jane. Alrighty, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I truly appreciate it. Have a great day. Decide to be excellent. Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnnNiagara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.